Can we have any security without physical security? It's a pretty obvious answer. The answer is no. We can't have any security without physical security. Everything starts with physical security. And that's why it's drawn as an encompassment. That's why it actually goes all the way around all of these different layers that we're discussing as part of the defense in depth model, is that physical encompassment really means everything relies on it. Host-based security, network-based security. What happens if someone steals your firewall? What happens if someone steals an application or replaces an application physically on a thumb drive? What happens if someone attacks something physically? Usually stealing is the easiest, most obvious example. Well, a lot of times all of those other layers go out the window, or folks just rely on physical security to protect. But it's really a foundational component of the defense in depth model. There are two. There's stewardship, certainly, but physical encompassment is what we're talking about here. And really all security, all good security, but virtually any security at all, starts with physical security. It's well understood. It's been around for an exceptionally long time. We've had locks on doors for as long as I've been alive, which is quite a while. But go back to Cro-Magnon. I'm sure there are locks on caves somewhere. Physical security is just this core concept, and we actually look past it a lot of times in IT, in data, in asset protection, in defense in depth model when it comes to information protection. We forget that locking a server room is important. We forget that cable locking a laptop to a chair is terribly important. And these are things that, if you consider what would happen if someone stole a server out of your server room, what would happen if someone walked into your data center with a thumb drive and started copying files from the USB ports that are right in the front of those 1Us. The physical security is something you probably rely on whether you realize it already or not. And the examples are pretty straightforward. They're pretty easy. The concepts of physical security are things like locks, deadbolts, card keys, proximity cards. You don't have to go expensive or difficult like retina readers or thumbprints or vascular scanners where you jam your arm in these things and they read your vein prints. Yeah, that happens. It's not very exciting and it's terribly expensive. But sometimes they're necessary. Most of the time I find, though, that it's just considering whether physical security is necessary, and then at what layer or how many layers. We talked a little bit about the concept of wearing a lot of light layers. It's quite possible that when you're talking about light layers, Gesundheit, that we're talking about a locked door as well as a logical access control system. So a physical key required to get to one part of a building, and then a proximity card or a logical control to get into a different part of a building. And maybe to log into a computer or access protected resources, you might need a third piece of identity or third physical component to get in there, like a different key or a different access card. Those are all great things. And there's no right or wrong here other than overlooking physical security entirely. The only wrong answer in the defense in depth model for physical security is just assuming that assets are secured, assuming that, well, who would ever let anyone else in the server room, or who would ever let someone walk out the front door with a blade or something like that. Those happen all the time. And if you think about your other layers of security, they almost always rely on physical security. So consider it a core concept that applies to every other layer of the defense in depth model.